Okay, we're live on YouTube. Hey, everybody. All right.
It's somewhere where okay, if I can bring this in-house, I could. By using a straight line angle, I can take 3 measurements, a rep.
W3 Benizi America's headquarters, located in beautiful Naperville, Illinois. I'd like to introduce the host for today's meeting, Mr. Tim Morgan.
Welcome, everybody. It's been an action-packed day already. A great presentation from Rivian. And now we're going to meet someone that I consider to be a good friend besides a business partner. And that's Ian Morton, owner of Fix Auto Thoroughbred and Sierra Vista. Pretty amazing story, just in your own self of how you got into the industry and how you got started and where you're at today and continuing to grow. So why don't you give us a little background about yourself, Ian?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me today. It's exciting to be here. So I started in the industry working for my grandfather's shop here in Tucson. At about 12 years old, I was getting in trouble at school, so parents decided that every day after school they were going to pick me up and take me to the shop, and every summer I was going to be working at the shop. So I started sweeping the floors, the asphalt parking lot in the middle of the summer here in Tucson at 110, 115 degrees twice a day, and pulling weeds and picking up cigarette butts for a penny a piece. And that's how I got my start.
How much revenue did you make a penny a piece there? And did they count all of those cigarette butts? That's my question.
No, I had to count the cigarette butts. Yeah. I don't remember. I didn't keep a ledger back then. It was a lot. Back in the mid and early 90s, there was a lot more smokers than there are today. So there was plenty of cigarette butts to pick up every day.
That's pretty funny. So after you got done picking up the cigarette butts, where did we move from there?
Yeah, so I was the porter, the lot kid, and worked my way into detail. Ultimately, moved over into parts. That translated into production and parts, and from there, I started working with the technicians as an apprentice on the body and on the paint side, and learning kind of my way through that. And we had some phenomenal technicians that worked there 30, 35, 40 years that were very knowledgeable. And quite frankly, until I was about 13, 14 years old, I didn't even realize that they weren't family. So many of them I called uncle, having known them since I was 4 years old. So that translated into becoming a tech, and quite frankly, I wasn't a very good tech. I couldn't match color to save my life, and so I decided that that wasn't gonna go very well. And maybe somebody else decided that for me. It might have been my stepfather. Might have said, "Yeah, that's not gonna work for you." And then I started writing, and I started writing the totals out back, and so my forte really became structural damage analysis and really technical writing. That translated into moving into the office as a writer, and then general manager of the store. So, so I was there for about 15 years overall. I got thrust into some challenging situations. My stepfather got very sick, and so I was told, "Hey, you got to run the shop," and that was about a year. And there was a lot of curveballs thrown at us. We were a very busy shop. We had about 67,000 cars a day driving right in front of our location. And then we had a bridge closure that was supposed to last 6 months right down the street. Ended up taking 24 months, and we went from 67,000 cars a day to about 1,800, most of them being people that worked in the area. And so it was super challenging. That happened on my watch. My stepdad was out sick, and for a year. It ended up being a year before he really came back. And I really honestly had no idea what I was doing. It was a super challenge. We went from doing $300,000 a year in the early 2000s to about $80,000 a year. A month. Went $300,000 a month and $80,000 a month, and it was a challenge. We didn't have enough money to pay the technicians, so I was not taking a paycheck. I was hustling on the side, and at that time I had a wife and two kids and a house and all these bills, and so it was a real challenge. But I tell you what, I wouldn't trade that experience for the world, knowing what I know now. The trials and tribulations that I had to go through. And when he came back, we started building the business back up. And then he comes to me one day and says, "Ian, I'm going to sell this place." I said, "Okay. Do you want to buy it?" I said, "Absolutely not. Not after what we just went through. I don't want to have anything to do with that. I came back here to help you." And I joined the military. Actually, after 9/11, I joined the military because of 9/11. And so when I came back, I didn't really have any plans on going back to work in the shop, and then my stepdad fell ill, and so out of necessity, I jumped back in. So I told him no, I didn't want to have anything to do with that. I didn't like that responsibility. I just wanted to, figure out something I wanted to do with my life. So he sells the business to my uncle. My uncle asked me to stay on, convinces me to stay on, and I was happy to do so, and I ran that store for about 5 years. And then I decided that it was time to make a change. I was just kind of bored. I didn't feel like I was growing, and I didn't know what I didn't know. I just knew that there was plenty more to learn. And so I left and I went to one of the big consolidators, and that was an eye-opening experience right out of the gate. It was like, oh man, this is the real deal here. And took a store that was a very low-performing store, a beautiful facility, still one of the very nicest facilities I've ever been in. Took it from under $100,000 a month in this 30,000 square foot shop on 5 acres to 3 years later we're doing mid 300s. And I really got tired of the 16-hour days. I got tired of just kind of a lack of support. And we built a phenomenal team, so it was very hard to leave them, but ultimately I did. And when I broke the news to them, there wasn't a dry eye in that room. And so I took a job, a regional position, a corporate position with another large consolidator, and really learned there how to operate without micromanaging, how to run multiple facilities without being the person that's pulling the levers. And that took a while. It took me about a year and a half to really fully understand what my duties were as a leader as opposed to a manager. And then had the opportunity, after 3 years there, had the opportunity to buy my current shop. And so I made that choice. And here we are today, 2 years and almost 11 months into ownership of my shop, which is Fix Auto, Tucson Thoroughbred. And about 14 months into ownership of our second location, which is Fix Auto Sierra Vista.
So let me get the timing on this straight for everybody that's on the call here today. So you said 2 years, 11 months. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So about 11 months before the world kind of changed. Is that the timeline? You bought a shop and then you decided, and then this hit you.
Yeah, it did. I was talking to somebody last week, and I've talked to my team about this quite a bit. I said, guys, look, if this was going to happen, I'm glad that it happened early on in ownership rather than going through 10 years of very few issues or roadblocks. Having bought the shop and changing ownership for a shop that had been in existence for 39 years, very set in its ways, and very old school ways. We'd already had a lot of challenges and trials and tribulations to work through at this store. And so when COVID hit us, we'd already increased revenue by 25%. We were doing things really well, and our quality of repair had skyrocketed. So when COVID hit, it was like, okay, what do we do now? And we had some really late nights, and I worked with some people that in the industry that were very important to me and have become mentors to me, and talking about, okay, what should we do, and how do we acquire the funding that we need, and we want to build and stack cash for the what ifs, because obviously none of us knew what was going to happen. We made the decision at that point that I wasn't going to lay anybody off. I wasn't going to terminate anybody, cut their pay, cut their hours. Whatever they made last year, that's what we were going to commit to. And not knowing how long it was going to last, experts are saying this is going to be a 3-month deal. That's what we did. But the first thing, I was all over the PPP loans and the EIDL. As soon as it opened up on whatever day it was in April, or it might have even been March, we were ready, and we submitted, and we got our payment within 5 days of submitting it. We got approved on day 4, and that money was deposited in our account day 5, and the EIDL loan was deposited like 2 days later. So we felt pretty comfortable at that point in time, and we started focusing on remodeling the facility, upgrading equipment, and bringing in as much training as we could get for those that were traveling, and keeping our team engaged with what we were doing, and being very transparent about what we were doing, and methodical in our approach to our communication with our team, and also our approach to to our day. How do we use this as an opportunity to get better in all aspects of what we do, including our culture, and how we interact with each other, how we feel about each other, both personally and professionally, and get to know each other on a deeper level. And it was looking back now, it was an incredible time, just as all of you know, just so stressful, and the what ifs, but we are in such a better place today culturally and as an organization than we were before, and we wouldn't have that opportunity to be where we're at today had we not had to go through these trials and tribulations.
So what was the efficiencies that you learned going from you were a well-run shop? I'm going to say you were a well-run shop, correct, before this all came down, and then you had to get well-run and as lean as possible. What was it that you learned that you can share with our viewers?
It was really going back and looking at what our standard operating procedures were, what our model was, quite frankly. And so during that time, and I would say that we felt like we were a well-run shop. The numbers may have said that, but in reality, we really weren't. What we decided to do during that time was to move to a team concept, and a total team concept, and then remove, change from flag rate to hourly and salary. And, that was a challenge. There were some people that just didn't quite understand what we were doing, and they didn't want to, they're so used to the me, and, it's my stall, my cars, my hours, and getting through to some of these people was challenging. And some of them, quite frankly, decided that just isn't what they wanted to do, and they, we left all on good terms. We brought in people that really understood that, teamwork was what was going to work here. And so we spent a lot of time focused on how do we do this? And we reached out to people in the industry that were doing this. And I went and visited some shops that are running this system, and just really dedicated ourselves to learning about, working as a team and eliminating this flag rate, which, in my mind really incentivizes the speed, not necessarily incentivizing, the quality, which is what we're after. And with as, complicated and complex as today's vehicles are, you need to be able to spend the time to repair these vehicles the right way, and do the proper research, and download the OEM repair manuals. And certainly we just did a repair the other day. It's a Toyota RAV4, a tree fell on it, storm damage, and we had 1,013 pages of repair procedures, and that all takes time. And if you're paying somebody on flag rate to do these things, you're just not going to get that commitment, because, quite frankly, they got to feed their families, and they've got to be able to spend, as much time turning hours as possible. So this has been a really good move for us. It's a process, and there's a lot of learning that needs to happen. 27 years in my career, has been spent in the flag rate world. So there's a lot for me to learn, and I've got to know it well enough to be able to explain it to my team and lead them down this path. So it's been a challenge, well worth it. I would not go back. I have technicians now that are saying I'll never go back to flag rate, and people's lives are becoming easier, less stressful. They're spending less time here, more time with their families, and it's not causing us to lose any of our productivity or revenue here. So it's that's what I would say we did to increase our our efficiency and really just the quality of life for our teammates.
Well, and let's talk about the culture for just a second here, Ian. You're saying that you move people from one type of pay to another type of pay, right? And the processes are changed. That's a whole lot of changing in that time period, and to get people to move off of what they're used to is like trying to steer the Titanic around an iceberg sometimes. So what did you do? What's your secret for getting the buy-in to that these folks want to follow you and make those changes? Because some of these ATECs in the back with the frame pitch and the they've been there for a while. They kind of like what they've been doing for 30 years.
Well, and the other part of that too, at the same time, Ian, you also changed out a ton of equipment between both facilities. So there's a learning curve thrown in there too. So how did you, adapt to that?
Yeah, well, in hindsight, we made a lot of changes in a short period of time, and I probably would have staggered that out a little bit better had I done it again. Hindsight's always 20/20. But so one of the first things that we did was really to neutralize our teammates, and by that I mean we put them on the salary, right? We put them on hourly, and so the flag rate at that point in time really didn't mean anything anymore, right? And so we did that before we officially made the full move to team. We've been talking about it since before COVID. We've been talking about it since November of 19 actually, and we were getting ready to really make our move. We had already implemented DFR in the shop, and so we were doing full disassembly out in the shop with the technical writers right there, their desks, their laptops, everything right there. So neutralizing them from a pay perspective and letting them know, hey, this, you don't have to worry about your pay, but you're going to get paid. And that once we started doing that and saying, look, if it doesn't matter what you work on, you're still going to get paid, and you're going to get paid the same. Does it matter what you work on? Does it matter what area of the shop you work in? And once we started having those conversations and they started seeing, what was going on, I said, look, guys, the idea is that we get the vehicle in, we get it disassembled, all the damage analysis done is, as quickly and efficiently as possible, as thorough as possible, and get that vehicle into wait mode as quickly as possible. So we've got parts on order, and let's move on to the next vehicle. And when that vehicle comes in, we don't even put it in, when the parts come in, we don't even put it into production until we have all of the parts, so that vehicle just moves from one department to the next department very efficiently. I said, how would that be? So you guys, we're not chasing down these parts at the end of the repair, or goes to paint, we're still missing this or missing that. How great would that be? And so it was really just talking to him about the process. And then what I did is I took half my staff to a shop that's running this system that we've really modeled our system on. And it's about a 4-hour drive, and I loaded half my staff up, and we, the stakeholders, really the key people at that time. And we went up to that shop, and we spent the day there, and my techs mingled with their techs, and the owner and the manager, and got to sit down on one of their team meetings, and it was. I told them, I said, go and talk to everybody, ask all of the questions. This is we want to be as transparent as possible, and I want you guys to feel comfortable that this works. And so we did that, and on the way up, people were like, oh, I don't really want to do this. On the way back, it was, how fast can we do this? How fast can we implement this? And I said, well, I'm going to bring the other half of the staff up, and we're going to do the same thing. And so we did that and came back and said, all right, you guys ready to do this? And they said, yeah, let's do it. And so we did it. And I pulled the trigger a little early because, again, I didn't quite know exactly all the ins and outs yet. But, there's never a perfect time to really do anything. So we just jumped into it. And we learned a whole bunch. And things started to move through the shop quicker. Mind you, we were down, 60% in our car count and in our revenue. So there wasn't a whole lot going on, so it allowed us to really lean out the shop and 5S it, get rid of some old equipment. That's when I reached out to Tim and said I needed new equipment, and so we bought, just a ton of new Spinisi equipment, and we were able to get training right away and get my guys going on that. So I mean, that part of it was a great time because it didn't interfere with our ability to serve our customers and our community. So we had that extra time to spend training, and it was good. We did find through that process that there were some people that just still couldn't wrap their heads around sharing their what they consider to be their hours, and so we had a couple of people that we had to purge, and so now we recruit specifically for this team, and it's been great because it's also an opportunity to train young or new people in the industry that get to work directly with these experienced technicians in different departments. Ideally, you're starting out in disassembly or reassembly and working with an A-level professional. It's been good. We've got three apprentices out there right now learning at the Tucson shop and 3 down in the Sierra Vista shop. It's going well.
So when you talk about recruiting, and one of the topics, actually, there's been kind of a recurring theme throughout Spinisi Interactive Week, which is bringing in the next generation of techs and hiring techs that fit the culture. Okay, what's to say this is a good fit for this team and it's not? What are you looking for when you talk with these guys, and where are you recruiting them from?
Yeah. Oh man. Well, our best source of recruiting really is through our teammates. Who do you know that would be a good fit for this team, for this culture? You guys know what this team's about now. You know what the culture is. You feel and live this culture that we have. Let's make sure we bring somebody in that's going to fit this. And so, that's been a lot of it. Just my years of being in this business. I've met a lot of people, and so recruiting is just more for us also about our networking and making sure that we're putting the feelers out there. We don't like to hire outside of our group. We like to hire from within. So if it's a friend or a family member or somebody that we know, that's right, we prefer to go. But the traditional methods, the Indeed and Craigslist, those just don't seem to be viable as much right now. And it's more about getting out there, talking to our customers. We get so many people saying, wow, your guys' culture is great. If I didn't have this, if I wasn't working here, I'd love to work with you guys. And said, well, we're hiring. So, we're looking for this position or that position. If you know somebody, send them our way. We've also, made inroads and relationships with a local automotive technical college down in the Sierra Vista area, and made connections at their high school, which has a automotive collision program. And we're working to support them as well. And, just constantly, communicating and talking. Our customers have been a real resource for us, putting the word out there as well, and through social media has helped. But it seems it just kind of does it itself because of our culture. I mean, we have people just kind of knocking on our door saying, hey, when you have an opportunity, let us know. And so, we're constantly trying to build that bench and maintain that bench. And when an opportunity presents itself, like just recently, we decided that we were gonna grow, and we promoted somebody out of the detail department into our DFR department, and we needed to backfill that position. And we had somebody ready to go on the spot. Here, I want to be a part of your team. And that's been, that's been really nice for us. We're just promoting somebody from the front office into more of a customer management role, customer experience management role. And so we're looking to replace them. And as soon as I made mention that we had an opportunity that was going to be open up, I had people calling me, and literally, we had our choice of people to hire, and we made the hire. She accepted the day before yesterday, and we're just, we'll continue to build that bench. But it's really just about our teammates talking about our culture, and their family members talking about our culture. That's a big deal for us.
And that is a resource that, if you can build that pipeline, that it is massively beneficial for an organization such as yours. But I want to circle back just a second, because we talked about 2 years, 11 months ago, you buying the shop, and then we talked about what happened in the middle of that, and then we talk about a complete revamp of your culture. Then we talk about complete revamp of your equipment. Well, not a complete revamp, but purchasing equipment and so on. And you're doing all this during a, when people are hiding, you're out there thriving and doing more to further your business. What was the decision process you went through to say, this is the time? The saying is in real estate was, when there's blood in the streets, buy real estate. What made you think that this was a great time for expansion and not protecting your assets?
So from an expansion standpoint, that was already in the works. I had purchased another building in October of 19, and we started out the build-out process with the expectation that we'd be open April 1st. And then COVID hit, and I wasn't able to get some of the parts I needed until late June, and I couldn't get our final inspections done until July. We literally had our final inspection, but that would have been July, I think, 10th, and we opened July 13th, and not even quite ready to open yet, but I'm like, we got to open this thing. I've got people hired, let's go. So, that was already in the works, but as far as, spending the resources, the time and the energy where we did, it was really, look, we have a decision to make. We can let this scare us, and we can let this, halt our progress and, bury our heads in the sand, which would have been really easy to do, quite frankly. I mean, I was scared. I didn't know what the heck was going on. I'm a new business owner dealing with this mess, and I have no idea what's going to happen. And nobody can really tell me what's going to happen because they haven't been through it before, right? So I just made the decision. I said, we're going to do, if this doesn't work for us, it's not going to be for lack of trying. We are going to do everything we can to be successful. And we sought out, people in the industry that we really respected, and outside of our industry as well. I was just making phone calls to people that, that I felt had a vested interest in our success, and that I had a vested interest in theirs, not a transactional relationship. And said, this is what I'm thinking. What do you guys think? And they said, absolutely. I think this is a smart move, Ian. I think you spending the time, energy, and money with your team and your business is going to be beneficial long term. And I said, okay, then this is what we're going to do. And I'm the type of person that it's kind of either on or off. I don't really have a middle speed, so it's go forward and rip the rearview mirror off. Why look back? And so that's what we did. And and I just started stacking things up, because the busier I were, the less I was worried about what was going on, right? I stopped watching the news. I stopped paying attention to what was going on out there, and I just focused on my team and my family and my work family, right? So it was kind of the switch that flipped for me as I was sitting in my office one day, just kind of stressed out about all of these things I want to do and all the stuff that's going on in the world, and how the heck am I going to make this all work? And I said, there's a lot of work that needs to be done around the shop and this building and our equipment. What better time than right now to do it? I have, maybe one customer a day walking in my door, if even that. No one's coming here. We're going and picking customers' cars up and dropping them off. So if they're not here, we have a ton of work that we need to do and that I wanted to do that we had already started on. I said, let's just do it all now. Let's just do this massive remodel right now when it's not going to affect our customers. And I got to thinking about it, and I'm like, man, there's never been a better time to remodel this. I mean, from the parking lots and the asphalt to the, to the entire shop, office, all the bathrooms. I mean, everything, every single part of this building has been renovated. And we didn't interrupt our customers. We didn't interrupt our production flow. It didn't cost us any additional revenue because we had to shut offices down or parking lots down or anything like that. Because heck, we just didn't have any customers. And it was a great opportunity to do that and to focus on the things that we needed to do to modernize this facility. We knew that we needed better equipment. We knew that we wanted to go after some of these, some of the electric vehicle manufacturers and their certifications and more OEM certifications. So, if I needed to replace a frame rack with a fixturing bench and learn how to use it, what a great time to do it when, I've got, 10 cars in the shop, and we can focus days at a time on how to use this equipment. It was, looking back, that was one of the best decisions that we made during that time, to really just, circle the wagons and invest in us. And no doubt it's paying dividends today, and it will continue to pay dividends for us down the line. And people in our market consistently come to me and say, man, Ian, I just can't believe how much money and time and energy you guys spent doing all these things. You're so far ahead of everybody else now. It's amazing, and everybody's talking about it. And I said, that wasn't our goal. Our goal was just, we want to be the best that we can be, and I knew that we needed to spend the time, energy, and resources to get to where we want to be. If we're going to talk about being, the best repairer in Southern Arizona, then we darn sure better be. Right.
So that's where all of a sudden I'm getting text messages and and phone calls, and we're talking through some things and looking at what OEM certifications you are going to be looking at in the future, and well, you can tell the story better than I can of how you were trying to fit or mold the type of equipment that you were going to give your technicians.
Yeah, I was doing all the research I could do. I was familiar with a number of other manufacturers, but I wasn't super familiar with Spinisi. I'd heard about it, but I hadn't really seen the equipment before. And I was on a trip with my family to and from Iowa, and I befriended Clay, who you guys met earlier this week. And I said, hey, I'm going to be in the area. I'm going to drive through Kansas. I'll swing up to hit Wichita, and I'd like to stop by and see your shop. And so stopped by, and we had talked a number of times, and I'd asked him about his equipment, and so I was able to go and put my hands on the equipment, really look at it, and he had the majority of the stuff that I wanted to buy, he had. And then I reached out to some other folks that had equipment as well, Spinisi equipment, and just got such positive feedback. And what I won't forget, Tim, is shooting you a call at 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, Tucson time, which is 2 or maybe even might even been I guess it would have been 2 hours behind you, and you picking up the phone, second, third ring. This is 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and I got the CEO of this or COO of this company answering the phone, and we have this really nice conversation. And it was just a couple of days later, and here's Spinisi literally standing in my lot, middle of COVID, talking about the equipment and where things could fit, and what the workflow could look like, and just giving me some ideas. That was impressive because I had called a couple of other companies and doing my due diligence, and that was not even an option to have somebody come and visit me and really talk about it. So that was super impressive, and it really for me solidified that this is a customer first organization, and like you said, we've become personal friends, and with Carl as well. It's been really a blessing. Absolutely, you guys truly are now partners in my business. And I mean, heck, I was just working with your guy Brett yesterday and said, hey, I need some more equipment for for this other certification program. No problem. How does 2 weeks from today work for the delivery and training? I said, man, you guys are awesome. I mean, it's real stories.
Well, and you and I have a little background because we share the same type of pups.
Absolutely, yeah. Our love for American Pit Bulls.
Yeah, and we both went through some trying times, and we're reaching out to each other and looking for some alternative care methods and different things. So, you are right. It does go beyond what we do on our daily business.
Yeah, when I was out in Chicago a couple months ago for a Fix Auto advisory board meeting, I took a trip out to see your Naperville location, and quite a place. I could not believe the amount of inventory you guys have, and including all the small little parts and pieces that you may need, welding tips and all of that stuff. It was really awesome to go out there and see what it was, and just the welcome that I got was was truly amazing.
Well, and I think that was one of your other concerns, because you really didn't see a lot of our equipment in your market area. And I think if we fast forward now 16, 18 months, there's probably 5 to 6 times the amount of equipment in your market area.
Absolutely. My concern really was training, right, and support. Is it going to be available to me? I mean, you're so far away. What's that going to look like? And immediately that concern was removed with your staff coming out and training. As I bought new equipment, they'd come out and train. And as I opened up the second shop and loaded it with your equipment, they were out there training. We haven't had a problem. You guys seem to be out in my market about every 2-3 weeks. And you always stop by and see me, whether I'm needing, support and training or not. It's a great feeling knowing that you guys are there and available to me.
I really appreciate the good comments there. How much do you feel that your productivity, or looking at your numbers now, that you're nearly back to what we'll call today's normal? Do you feel, since you've done your complete remodel, you've changed over your equipment, you got your processes in place now, how much growth do you think you have now, and the direction that you're taking, how much more are you going to do?
So I would say that we're still not quite back to our pre-COVID levels yet. We're pretty close. This will probably be our best month since January of 20. Last month was a really good month for us as well, but not quite back to the same levels. But it feels much more normal now. And we're still trying to figure out how to operate with that level of intensity to get us back to that level that we want to be. Since before COVID to now, the average cost of repair in our facility has gone up. We're fighting the cycle time, or sorry, not cycle time issues, the parts cycle time issues, and just procurement. And that's been really a hindering factor for us in our ability to get back to a revenue number that we were at. All that said, we are running more efficient. Our numbers are looking good. We're doing more with less. We're just, again, much more productive and efficient. So I would say that we're feeling pretty good, where we're at and where we're going. We have definitely turned our attention towards what growth is going to look like moving into 22, and we definitely want to continue to grow. COVID did stop some growth for us, and we had some plans. We had some stuff in the work that we just kind of backed out of to focus on what we had. And so now we're moving that direction, and we're having some conversations with some shops that may be looking to exit, and we're just trying to build some of those relationships now. So we're having some conversations. We ought to see some nice stuff happen in 22.
That's good. That's good. I mean, it's pretty amazing to see how much has happened in 2 years, and it's great to see those types of things happen for organizations such as yours, to be able to grow and change your methodology up a little bit, and you see an instant difference. Yeah,
and quite frankly, we have a lot of really good people supporting us and helping us, mentoring, guiding us, and want to see us be successful. We have, phenomenal teammates that come in and grind every day, and that are wanting to grow and wanting to learn. So it's really, it's really them. They're the ones that are making all this happen. We're watering their grass for sure, but they're really watering their own grass, and it seems to be that they're even putting Miracle-Gro on it, because it's just impressive. We have leaders in the organization that truly care, and they're operating their facilities as I would, and with the owner's hat on, and people in the organization from the blueprint department and the DFR department that are truly care about what they're doing, and talking and battling with the payers on, this is the right thing to do, and this is why we need to do it. And all those things are challenging, but we're all going down the path for the right reason. And it's truly remarkable where we are today versus when we took over this business. And quite frankly, where my thought process was my entire career, especially working in the consolidation side of the business. It's a whole different animal over here, and I love the direction that we're going. We really do have something very special that's happening.
And it sounds like it too, Ian. I'm inspired. Number one, I'm inspired to hear the story of your progression from then until now. But before we get into the future here, I want to remind everybody, if you have a question for Ian, please put it in the Q&A window so we can get an answer for you, because he's full of information and full of great insights. If you want to talk about book clubs with him, I'm going to recommend that we hook you up together, because he can talk about books all day long, great inspirational business books. But let's circle back and let's talk about the future. You were talking about making relationships with current shop owners who might be interested in exiting. Tell us about what's your vision for your organization?
Well, it's definitely growth, and it's not just growth to grow. It's we want to provide high quality OEM level repairs to our community, and so it's very methodical in our approach to growth, right? And it's about the people. We can put up a building and we can load it full of work. That's not a problem, but do we have the right people, and are the people committed? And obviously we all know that people in parts right now are the challenge. And so identifying the shops in the markets that we're looking in that would make sense, not only geographically, but from what's their reputation. Who do they have in the organization that would be just we believe to be rock stars. And so we just start having conversations with them and developing that relationship, and throwing out there, if you ever decide that maybe there may be a time for you to move on, I'd love to be able to have that conversation with you. And it really is about the network. But I'll circle back. It's people. There's a lot of companies out there right now that are just putting up boxes and then struggle to find the people, and then they're trying to poach them from you and trying to overpay and all that stuff, which is just not good. Ultimately, it's going to cost those technicians when those high salaries and overpayments become something of the topic of discussion when the board is meeting on profitability in those stores, and they start cutting those people and hiring less qualified people. So it's the networking, it's the relationships.
Yeah, and I think you see that not just in the collision repair business, it's in every business right now, that you have the lack of employees, people leaving the industry. We have a huge aging workforce. I mean, that's some of the reasons why people are reinvesting in better equipment so that they have better ergonomics for their employees. There is one thing that I can personally say. I've spent time in both of your facilities. It runs like a machine, and everybody's, helping everybody else to be able to, at the end of the day, show the results. And that's amazing of how you've been able to take the team and wrap everyone into the same focus, the same goals, and I have to commend you on that. It's really awesome to be able to come in someone's facility and be able to sit down with an owner, and you and I can sit and chat for an hour, and you're not interrupted because the machine is still moving. You're not behind the curtain there pressing the levers, as you said earlier.
Yeah. Again, we have phenomenal people on our team that really truly care and are invested in seeing this be successful. And, with our investment in them and ultimately our investment in their family, the goal is that you want to be here, but we don't want you to be here for longer than you need to be here, right? And so, the buy-in, once you understand that that's real, true, and genuine, becomes that. And so, the departments know what they need to do. The people know what they need to do. They don't need micromanagers. They understand that we trust them and that we're all on the same page from a repair quality standpoint and what needs to happen to be successful in the day. And so we're super transparent. I mean, they know what our gross profit numbers are. I share everything, and I'm a numbers guy. I want them to understand what the cause and effect is of this, and we break it down, and we talk about the financial aspects of what's going on and how this impacts that, different buckets, all of those things. But, I'll be at SEMA all week next week, and chances are I won't get a phone call at all from my staff with questions. It'll be me calling them just to say, how's it going, with anything you need from me? We've got really good people here that care, and they're focused on educating themselves, and we spend a lot of time training, and we're part of a lot of online 20 groups and performance groups, and we are in a lot of Facebook groups, and there's a lot of questions, or private WhatsApp groups. There are a lot of questions that get answered in there, and a lot of coaching and mentoring that happens just through other owners and even people outside of this industry that we respect. So it's really it's about the people we surround ourselves with, and then we go and execute the plan.
Right. So we did have one question come in. How are you dealing with the challenges that ADAS has brought to repairing cars?
With excitement. It's not going anywhere, right? And so we decided we were going to become experts in ADAS. And so that was another thing we did during COVID, was we just started learning. So we're researching what needs to happen as far as this particular vehicle and what are all the systems that we're going to be interacting with, what needs to happen from a reinitialization standpoint if we disconnect the battery and all that. And so we document it, and then we, either send it to the dealer, which we found a bit challenging because some of the dealers didn't have the right equipment, the training, the space, or even the know-how to do what needed to be done. So we ended up bringing it not necessarily in-house, but I did start another company that is doing ADAS, and so my other company is doing our own ADAS work using OEM targets, and that's been very beneficial for us, knowing that it's been done right. And we're still growing, we're still learning. Things are changing, and buying into OEM subscriptions so that we have the data that we can use to program a new SDM module or some sort of a control module, then that then allows us to perform our ADAS calibrations or initializations. So it's a learning process, but bringing it in-house for us has been really nice. And so I've got systems at both shops, and we run it as a completely separate business, but we're able to keep the vast majority of it in-house.
Very good. I learn something new every day.
So Ian, when I mentioned book club, the chat window lit up. So what are you reading right now, and why?
So I'm just finishing up a book called The Goal, and it was a book written, I'm pretty confident it was written in the 70s, and it's about manufacturing and lean manufacturing. It's really kind of the beginning of the theory of constraints. And I'm reading it because a good buddy and a fellow fixed auto owner of mine, Dan Standard, mentioned it to me. We were up with Beth Ritter doing a panel discussion a couple weeks back, and we were talking about books, and he brought it up, and I hadn't read it yet. I tell you what, it was awesome. It truly is. And when I say read books, what I mean is I listen to them. On my commutes, hiking, I'm listening to these books pretty much nonstop. And I like this because it's a fable, and it's a fictional story that plays out over the course of, in this particular case, I think it's about 12 hours. And it's awesome, and it's amazing how many of the issues that they were having in this plant translate to the issue that we're having, because that's really what we are, right? We're a manufacturing plant. We manufacture billable hours. And so it's great. That book right now is just tops of my list. And then another one I just recently completed was Get a Grip by Gina Wickman, which is another business fable, and it talks about changing the organization from the bottom to the top, front to back, and getting everybody on the same page. And it really is just a really eye-opening book. I enjoy it. Most of my leadership team has read that book as well, and we've adopted a number of the practices in that book successfully. And there's more to come as we start knocking one or two things off of the list of things we want to do from this education. I'm a big fan of reading. By reading, I mean listening. And having my staff do the same things, we're all speaking the same language.
Very good. Very good.
Well, outstanding. All right, Ian, your last chance to get your questions answered by Ian Morton. I do want to thank Ian Morton for taking time out of his extremely busy schedule, rearranging the pieces and putting them all back together and getting everybody on the same page, as he does in his daily operations. I think for me, it's an inspiring story of what, when you're hit with challenges, you can either sit on the sidelines or you can get in the game. And Ian not only got in the game, he put together the team to really be able to run the offense and defense up and down the field.
Yeah, he got the team to be able to change the game.
Yeah.
So,
and like I said, it's definitely the team.
Well, great coaching. So my question is, what's next in your repertoire for what process are you working on right now to finish this out? What's the one thing that you think that you can do better in your shop for everybody?
Well, I think we can do everything better. The continuous improvement is always there. That's the goal, right? But right now, I'm working on really redefining our DFR process. We do it through committee, so we have committee meetings with everybody and say what's working, what's not working. Comments, questions, concerns, ideas, and then taking those and working to implement them. Also, our front end process is still a little bit cumbersome, and there's some more refining that we can do there. Quite frankly, that's not an area that I really would consider myself a subject matter expert in, and so I'm really working to become that and trying to make it so that we have a better grip on our scheduling for our team. We're working very hard not to write any sheets up front. We just want to get the vehicles in, but trying to identify just visually what makes the most sense and when that vehicle should be coming into the shop. So that's just a process that we got to continue to work on, and it'll evolve to what we want it to be sooner than later. So those are probably the two areas right now that we're working on. Parts procurement is always a challenge, and so we're getting creative with that. But that's more out of necessity than really a function of what we do right now.
Right, and at the same time, in the background, you're trying to get a couple of more OEM certifications, which also absorbs a lot of time and energy of what you have to do. It's not like just calling them up and say, "Put me on the program." There's a lot that goes to it. I can understand how you're struggling. So I really do want to thank you for your time today. I know I seen some travel purchases today, so I know we're back in your area in about 10 days or so.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're down to our last question, and I just want to let everybody know the next session is at 2 p.m. and we'll be out in Studio 1, and we're going to be going over straightening small, medium, and large damage with our technical team of Brett Runyon, our sales and technical specialist, and Jeremy Holloway, our director of technical training. So I hope everybody enjoyed the time with Ian as much as we have, and looking forward to seeing you at the next event. Take us out.
Yeah, really appreciate you guys having me on. It's been really the pleasure's been all mine.
Thank you so much, Ian, and have a great week, everybody. Don't forget, 2 o'clock, half an hour from now, out in the studio.
All right. Thanks. See you guys.
No, we're out. We have a half
All
hour.
right. Am I off?
They say things are changing in the automotive industry. New technology, computers, self-driving vehicles. From where we stand, we see our future and our path. The Collision Repair Education Foundation supports educational programs, schools, and students, working to create qualified, entry-level employees ready for the career opportunities our industry provides. But we can't do this mission without you. Each year, the foundation works to connect corporations and individuals to schools and students across this country. By being a part of our mission, you become an amplified force of leadership, reaching students, instructors, and community businesses in every corner of the industry. From where we stand, together, we see our community evolving and supporting each other. We see connections being forged in fire and fostered with trust. Connections that live long past graduation day. Connections that form the foundation of our workforce and shape the